guys, happy Friday. Welcome to our heart charm bracelet class. Let me just hit the buttons here on my screen. Right. I missed you guys last week. And it was awesome seeing some of you guys in Tucson. Hi, if you're here today. Today's class is going to be really fun. It's a combination of two techniques that are things we've done before that are really really fun kind of go-to things in our toolbox for beading. We'll start with making little charms that are made of Miyuki Delicas that are brick stitched, and we will put a little wire guardian loop on it and then add a jump ring, and then at the very end we'll string up a bracelet and create a piece of jewelry with all those little charms hanging. So what I have on my mat is just kind of a run through of each of the steps that shows all the different pieces that we're going to be using and some of the materials. And so let me just switch to my mat really quick. Oh, thanks, Chanel. All right, and so the class has two steps, like I was saying. Step one is to create this really cute little heart charm. And you can make these in any colors you like. The pattern is really simple, and I'm going to walk you through we'll make a whole one together. And then in the end, we'll string it on some bead stringing wire with some pearls. And this is where you can really just let your creativity shine through. Use any beads you've got. I used a combination of, and everything I used is in this handout with the SKU numbers in case you just love it and you want to use all the same ones. But I just grabbed beads that caught my eye from the strand wall. I had a strand wall pearls in a couple different sizes. It's one of those strand bundles. So it has like 4mm up to 10, 12mm, something like that. And I here have used the 6mm and the 8mm together. I combined it with 8mm Czech Crystal and 6mm crystal, along with beads from this strand. So that was where my inspiration took me, but feel free to use the beads that inspire you the most. And then for your hearts, of course, I was saying any colors you want. The pattern is designed so that you can just swap that. So just pick a color, any color, and you don't have to use white as your edge. I just use that because it kind of hides my thread a little better because I am using the good thread. And it is available in two colors. You can get it in black and white in the store. And so I'll be using that. I'll be using two colors of the, again, Miyuki Delica. And then last but not least, you're going to need a beading needle. So like a size 11, size 10 will also work, and 12 will also work. And let's see, other little things you're going to need kind of toward the end when we do the bracelet. You'll need some crimping pliers, and you'll need something to cut your beading wires, so some flush cutters. And for your thread, some scissors also. And then the findings that I used, we'll start with putting a wire guardian onto our hearts, and then we'll add a 4mm jump ring to that, and that'll create these little charms, the little jump ring ready to string. And then when we make our bracelet, we just need a couple other things. We need a clasp, and so I'm going to use this really cute gold toggle, and we'll need some crimp beads, 2x2 crimps. And again, that's just for the bracelet. And I'm going to string the bracelet on some 49 strand. This is really forgiving. You can use a lot of different kinds of beading wire. This is what I'm using, but there's others, like you could use the, oh gosh, 21 strand would also work fine. And you can vary this around because the beads that we're using are really, they're forgiving. They're all standard drill or bigger. So that should work. All right, so I'm going to walk you through a little bit about what's in the handout, and then we'll just jump into stitching. So in the handout, there's the pattern. If you have a ruler handy, that can really help guide you on where you are in the pattern. That said, it's really intuitive. It's one where once you've made one, you won't need to look at it anymore. You just stitch along. These are the bead counts, how many delicas you're going to need in each color. And then here's a diagram of how to start it. I started with peyote stitch. This is a lead that I got from a student in one of our classes going on a year and a half ago now. It's pretty cool. But yeah, it's a peyote stitch start, and I'm going to walk you through that step by step. Then we'll complete with Brickstitch. The rest, we'll pop a wire guardian on it, finish it, and weave in our ends. So that's all there is to it. I'm going to go ahead and open my page to this. Just kind of flatten it out here and get ready to start following it. The jump out here, this right here, is the widest row of the pattern and the row above it. So if you're ever looking to create this for other patterns that you have in your stash that you want to work from, just choose your widest row. And so for me, that's that row right there. And then just work the row above it. So to show you what that looks like, it's basically those two rows. And there you go. You bring your thread in through that bead, string the next two beads below it, and come back up through the bead. And then we just work single column peyote stitch all the way over. From there, we start our brick stitch working up. All right, so let's go. Let's jump in. Again, I'm using good thread. I'm using the white color, but feel free to use whatever color you'd like. You need about 28 inches per heart. So every heart you make is going to need about 28 inches. And a little extra can't hurt. It'll give you a little more leeway when you're doing your weaving in. So I'm just going to really quickly thread my beading needle here. And I'm going to pick up the first beads. And so I'm using Miyuki Delica today, but you can use any beads you like. This is Brickstitch, and it's going to work with lots of different beads. You'll get a different look. The cool thing about Delica for beginners is they pop right into place for both Brickstitch and especially for peyote, but it'll still work. It'll just be more tricky with a round bead. So I'm going to string the A, B, and then go back through the A. That's what's shown right here. And go back to the A. So here's my two A beads. And my first B bead, I'm just working with a red color. And again, any color that you like will work. Leave a tail, you know, about 5 to 7 inches or so. All we're going to do with that tail is just kind of weave it around. It doesn't have to do anything. And what you want to do is go back through the first bead you strung and head in the opposite direction of the way you strung it. So you'll be heading out with the tail. And then just pull it so that those beads pop into place next to each other like that. And so that's step one there. So for the next few steps, I'm just going to be picking up the color indicated in the pattern. And I'm just following that right here off the screen. So we're going to work, so we have 3 red on top, and the whole bottom is going to be red. And we're going to put a white bead in the middle of those two on the top row. And if you ever get lost, you just go ahead and just grab that pattern, put your ruler against it, and you'll be able to find your spot. So here's what we have so far. That little pop there. I picked up 1 red bead, and I'm just going to go down through and pull tight. There we go. Let's just keep doing that, following the pattern. So super easy. And one of the tricks I do for this, just to keep everything tight, is I am kind of coiling the tail around my fingers. And then after I add each bead, I do pinch the work in my hand. Just hold everything really nice and tight. And then get that next bead and go through. You can kind of almost see it just a little bit. Right there we go. Because it does get a little wiggly on you. So, and you only need to hold the tail for this row. After that, you won't need to hold the tail anymore. We're just going along. That's the amount I've got so far. So I'm going to do another red bead. And another red bead. And so each time we just pick up a bead and we go through the one that's sticking up in the row above it or below it. And you got it. So there's the 3 in the top row there. I know I need a white bead next just because I'm looking here at the pattern next to me. And then let's just finish the rest of this row with red until we get to the very end. And how I'm doing this without really looking at my pattern is I just know on my starting row that the top row here is going to have 3 red beads, a white bead, 3 more red beads, and then we're going to do our end with white bead. So I'm going to just keep adding red beads until I have 3 on top. So there's 1. And that was the bottom one there. So here's number 2 on top. Number 2. Okay, here's number 3. And I need 1 more red on the bottom. All right, see how fast that is? So far, so good. Almost have 2 rows done. And the edge beads are the only ones I need now. Need my top white edge bead. And the bottom one. These do work up really quick. And they're really satisfying to make a bunch of colors. So there's that. That's all set. And I'm going to do one really quick thing before I start Brickstitch. Our tail right here, a couple of things about the tail. It's this is loose here on the corner. And I just want to get it kind of down here out of the way because I'm going to be working up here first. So I have another needle here next to me that I'm going to just quickly string on the tail. And we'll get it to go out of the bottom row, and I'll just leave it for now. I want to leave it until I have a little more to weave it into. But so right now it's exiting from that white bead, and I'm just going to bring it down through the next bead in the row, and then from a bead below it. Pick one, it doesn't really matter which one. So it's just hanging out right there. And you can just take that needle off and just leave it. So now it's out of your way, and we'll worry about it when we're working down here. We'll create a row or 2, and then we'll get it woven in and we'll trim it. All right, so Brickstitch. To start your Brickstitch, there's a couple methods. The one that I illustrated in the handout and the one that I've been using for this one is a 1 bead for 1 bead. With Brickstitch, you can always, like, you can start with 2 beads or you can start with 1. If you start with 2, you want to go under the 2nd thread bridge, but I was working this as 1 for 1 just because I have a white border and I'm using white thread. And I find it easier to get the beads to kind of sit the way I want them to when I'm working this way. The thread does show on the side working this way. So if you don't like that, let me know. I can show you 2 different ways. But this is kind of my preferred method, to be totally honest. I don't know why I like it, but I just do. It's just kind of fun. So you want to just go under that first thread bridge right there. I'm trying to go slow so everyone can see it. And then pull. And head back through that bead, going through the way your thread was just coming out. So you'll have this kind of like loopy thing happening here. And then just get your thumbnail on top of it. And the bead should sit just above the others right there. And when we get our next bead on, which is in the pattern, it's going to be a red bead. What will happen is it'll really lock it down. So the red bead's going to go under the next thread bridge. Let me move this out of the way so you can see. Red bead going right there under that next thread bridge. And just pull tight. And we'll just head up through that bead. Again, we're going back through the bead, headed in the direction that that thread was coming out. So you're basically just looping around and making a U-turn into your bead. And so it just beautifully just locks like that. And I'm going to flip my work. Now this is a symmetrical pattern, so it doesn't matter which side of the pattern you're looking at, it's going to work in both directions. But if you were working with a pattern that wasn't symmetrical, just be aware if you're going to flip your work. Like I'm more comfortable working this direction. But if you're doing that, you just got to keep a log of where you are. And sometimes your tail can be your indicator to know what side of the pattern you're on. It's another great reason to keep your tail for a little bit. Just until your pattern is identifiable by sight. So here's our next red bead. And I'm just going to get under the next thread bridge. So each bead now is going to go under the next. You don't need to skip any. Red bead. All right. And just following the pattern here, we're going to do a white bead. I'm actually going to do two white beads in a row. We'll just get under the next thread bridge right there. Back up through the bead. Just one more. up to the bead. Okay. Now we're just going to do 2 red. And I want to show you guys something really quick. You see how I punctured my thread and it's not letting me do the pull thing? It's not the end of the world if you do that, but it's really better if you don't. It'll make your next row easier if you don't do that. When you're doing your next thread bridge, it'll be really tight and may actually potentially cause a knot. So if you make sure it's free moving, let me show you one more time what I mean. So I pick up a bead under the thread bridge here, pull through, and then we head back up through that bead. When you do that, if you can do this, make it move and then make it go up, that's, you know, you didn't puncture the thread. It's just a little cleaner. I feel like sometimes potentially maybe your thread might show here, like in between the beads more. If you've ever seen Brickstitch where you can kind of see the thread like on the front side, sometimes that's because it got snagged. And when that happens, you also might get tension that makes it warp a little bit or fold on itself. So just something to think about. On something this small, it would go unnoticed, I think, but on a bigger piece, you know, just a little thought. All right, so I flipped my work again, but again, my pattern's symmetrical and I'm working the top row now. So just 3 A beads. And we're gonna work that center, just doing jump down, jump up. I'll show you that when we get there. So this is the speedy Brickstitch way. It's a little bit quicker. I'm just gonna tighten that down. And that first one, I just kind of use my thumbnail to get it to pop in place. One more bead. And one more bead. Okay, so in our pattern now, you'll see we have a gap coming up. So we're gonna have to skip a bead. And the easiest way to do this and the way that makes the beads really sit next to each other nice is just go ahead from where you're exiting here and go down through the white bead that's sitting just to the right of it below it in the row below. So I'm just gonna go right through this bead right here. And I'm not going through this one, just it looks like I did, but just going just through that bead right there. And when you do that, you'll get a nice flat plane. It's gonna sit nicely for you, just like that. All right, so let's pop up through the next bead in the row. So just right through this one right here. And my tail is still getting in the way there. Okay. And so it should just pop right in place just like that for you. So we're going to start again with another white bead. So it's going to feel like starting a new row. It's kind of the same steps. There's one bead. Just go through the very next thread bridge. So to find it, just take a look at where your thread's coming out of that white bead right there. And we're going to go under the one that's jumping out of the white bead and going into the red one right next to it, just right there. And there we go. And then I'm just going to head back up through that bead and pull tight. And by tight, I mean just kind of medium tension. You don't have to pull super, super hard. So there's another white bead going under the next thread bridge here. And then just pull that one more. And we have finished the top half of our pattern. And now before we head down to finish the bottom half, I'm just gonna pop that wire guardian on there. So there's our top of our heart. Those are the widest rows in the pattern. Everything after this just decrease all the way down. But really quick, what we're gonna do is just get that wire guardian on there. And I'm gonna show you the path for that. All right, so here's I keep these little baggies, they come in, they're kind of handy. And they just make it a little easier to not lose them, you know. So there's one of these. And you know, give yourself grace with these. They're a little hard to see, you know, and keeping them in the well is kind of hard, but go ahead and just thread through the first side, one, and bring that down to meet your piece. And our goal is to get it to kind of just sit like that. And we're going to go over the well. The well is this little spot here at the top. See how it's kind of, maybe just like a little, like half moon shape there. We're going to just hold it as best we can, go over the top and through the hole on the other side. When you do that, you want to go through that third bead. So you see we're coming out of the edge bead. We skipped the bead in the middle. We went over that well and we were going through that third bead there. And so that is the path we're going to do for the first add. And what I'm doing right here is I'm pinching the wire guardian in between my fingers to make sure my thread stays in that well at the top. Otherwise it's gonna pop out, and it really wants to pop out. It's like that's its goal in life right now, is to pop out of that well. So you got to kind of make it stay in there. And now we got to make a turn so we can reinforce. I'm going to head back up through the wire guardian. So to do that, it's in the handout, the thread path, but we're just going to go through the bead below. So just through that white bead below it. Okay. And then just up through the adjacent red bead. So this one right here. And then just make sure that thread disappears in between your beads. If it doesn't, you can give it a roll. Just kind of spin it in your hand. And now we're going to just head up right through that white bead again. And if you can, try to get through the wire guardian in one swoop. It'll make it easier on you. So I'm just getting through the loop of that wire guardian. And there you go. One side's good. Come over the other side. And again, if you can do it in one swoop, way better. And just pinch everything now. Hold it really tight. Keep that in the well. Double check that it stayed there. If it's all good, then head down here. And to do that, let's see. I'm exiting from that white bead right there. I'm just going to go through the next 3 white beads on the edge. And they're just going to bring you right down where we want to be. Here's 1. And 2. And 3. All right, so now all we have to do is just a bunch of decrease stitches. So here we go with our first bead. And it's always just going to be the first thread bridge. You want to go under it with 1 white edge bead. And if there's no questions, I might speed through this a little bit just so we can get to the fun part of stringing, but please stop me if there's any questions as we go. I've got 1 bead here, and I'm just going to fill in red all the way across in the next thread bridge every time. And it'll get faster every row because every row is going to be shorter than the one before it. And the tail right now, I have a trick for the tail. Just kind of bring it down in between your fingers back here. And that will keep it from getting in your way while you're doing this row. And then it should stay out of the way pretty much for the next couple rows, and then we'll weave it into those rows. Oops, so here's one that won't move. So I'm going to try that again. And what I mean by not moving is that I punctured my thread if it's not moving. We want it to do this. Because then we know everything's smooth, everything's not going to be snagged. There we go. And this is the fun part. It's just not hard. It's really easy to, you don't even need to look at your pattern anymore because it's just going with the same color. If you wanted to do like a rainbow, you could make each of these rows a different color or something, just for fun, just ways to make it more interesting. My needle just came undone really quick. Let me find. I want to go. I think this one's a little tighter. Yeah, it's gonna hold a little better. There we go. Okay, so I'm at the last one. Just get that tail out of the way. Here's our last thread bridge in the row. So we're gonna switch to the edge color. So I'm using white for my edge color. There we go. And I'm just gonna flip it. It's easier for me to work that way. Now, if you wanted to do this where your thread doesn't show on the edge, I'll show that really quick, just for some interest. But I've been picking up one bead, going through the first thread bridge, and letting my thread show on that starting side, which doesn't bother me at all. It actually helps lock it in so that it stays, really, really locked down. But if you like not seeing the thread, or maybe for some reason you're working with a color that you don't have a matching thread or something, so you can pick up two, and you can skip that first thread bridge and go under the second thread bridge. So you can do that. And what happens is they kind of do this on you, a little bit like herringbone kind of. When you come up through the second bead, just what you want to do. Sometimes you can get it to stay, but usually it does that. You see how it kind of pops up like that on the edge? That's the reason I like doing it the thread show way, because what ends up happening is you have to go back down through the first bead, and then you come along and you pick up. It's a little tricky to show you, but you can pick up that first thread bridge under that first bead. You come all the way down, and then go ahead and come back up through the second bead. And that'll lock it in, but you have a couple things going on here now that we didn't before. A little bit more bulk underneath those beads. So they don't quite sit as flat, in my humble opinion. They kind of move around a little more, but at the same time, you can't see your thread on the side. And most people aren't going to notice after you've done the little spinny thing. The spinny thing where you kind of just roll them in your fingers to get the thread to all settle and move in there. If you haven't snagged any thread, it works like a charm. So on big pieces, if you've done a bunch of this, if you're not snagging your thread under or through, this roll thing will hide every little strand, even if you've got doubles like that. So you can't really see it. So just something to try. And whatever you like, it's going to work really well. If you like the 2-start or the 1-start. I'm going to just carry on with the 1 because it's faster. It's a little faster than doing the 2. So there's 1. And we're still doing okay on time, so I'm going to go ahead and finish this one. But any questions about Brickstitch, just let me know. It should probably take me another 4 or maybe 5 minutes just to get to the bottom of this. And I just want to show weaving in too. So I thought it'd be good to see one from start to finish. And they do actually go really fast, I think. All right, here's my last one. So we're ending with whatever your edge color, you want to end with that color. Okay, just grabbing the next bead for the next row. And I'm just going to turn it just for my hand works better that way. Grabbing that first thread bridge. And head back up through the bead. And see, it just pops right into place. And I like that better than the 2-start. That's just me. That's what I like. Everybody has their own style though. So I had a goal of making one of these hearts in every color from the Delica wall that's in store. And I've done all but hematite so far. I did a silver lined gold yesterday, and I think I might be missing like maybe the gray mist as well. But those colors aren't going to stand out that much from the border, so I might not do those. All right, here comes one more. Okay, flipping it. You can kind of use your whole hand as like a tension guide. I'll show you when we start the next row. If you're having any trouble getting that first bead under the thread bridge without loosening up that thread bridge, that might happen to you. And if that's happening, let me show you a trick when I get to the end. Start another row. All right, here is the last bead. That row, and it's done. Okay, so here's a little flip. And here's our first bead. And so that first thread bridge, when you're going under it, if it's loosening on you, don't sweat it yet. Just keep going. Let me get back through here. Right here, that thread bridge, you see how it's kind of loose? This side, if you pull right here on the one coming out, tightens it. And then you just keep going through the bead and it's tightened. And everything just kind of stays right in place for you. We'll get to do that a couple more times. I'll go a little slower so you can see that little step. I realized I wasn't explaining that, I was just doing it. Oop. This is a sharp needle. I think I accidentally picked up a sharp, and so it's actually snagging. So I'm being double careful that I don't do that. Yeah, see, it's moving. It's good. Everything's good on that one. Okay, here's another row. We're starting a new one. Just gonna flip that over. Okay, here's that new bead, thread bridge. Just gonna get under that one, and it's loose, a little bit loose right now. It's okay. I get through the bead first, if I can. And then just right before I keep going, the strand right here, this one, if you give it just a little tug, the thread bridge tightens right back up. And then when you pull your bead, everything's nice and tight there. And I'm not even looking at the pattern anymore because as you guys are seeing, it's just the same thing. And every single time we do a row, there's less red bead. And this will be our last red bead row. And then we'll have just a border row and we're done. That back over. So we're just going to do this row and that row, and we are all good. It ends with 2 white beads. Something happened there. There we go. All right. And here is the edge bead. This is moving right along. Okay. Okay, so last row, I just need the two little white beads. And grab one. I'm just gonna flip it again. And this one really loosened up on me, so just really carefully, I'm gonna get through this bead right here, and then just pull. Let's get through the bead first, just in case it pulls the bead under the thread bridge. That is possible, so just be real careful if it's getting really loose on you. Just to kind of hold the bead. Here's our last one. All right. So let's weave in these little strands, and then we're all set. We're gonna put a jump ring on it and make a bracelet. You would want to repeat this 5 more times if you're wanting to have a total of 6 charms like my original sample. But you don't have to. You could always make it with just 1 charm. And so to weave in, the first thing I'm going to do is go down through a few beads, maybe like 3 beads, and it doesn't matter which ones. You can pick the one in the row that's just below it, either on the left or the right. So I'm going to go through, let's say, 1 more. And then start making some turns. And the turns are coming up through an adjacent bead. And just make sure that thread hides. If you need to roll it, you can roll it. I might go through 1 more bead up there. 2. And I'm just going to exit out of here. So I only did 1 turn, but and you could do a bunch more, but I think even that's just fine. And so I just want to trim that really quick. Feel free to use either a burner or scissors. If you're using scissors, you can just kind of just place your piece flat on your mat and grab the thread that you're going to cut and hold it, and then just push down on your piece. Just kind of use your scissors as a way to, and it should just go right in there. So that's one side. Let's get rid of this one. And I actually went to the end, just leaving the tail in place. Usually I weave it in earlier, but I actually forgot about it because it wasn't getting in my way. I just kept going, and now I'm just gonna bring it down through a few beads. And keep in mind it was never knotted, so it does need a little bit of a weave in for this too. It can't hurt. Yeah, let's go through this one. And feel free to fix anything. If you feel like there's a loose spot, you can use your tail or your working thread to fix that. You'll have an easier time trimming your thread from edges, but not required. But there's that. Let's just go ahead and get rid of that tail.
Danielle, a couple of quick questions now.
Sure.
So how wide is this heart now, or how long is it?
How long? Let's see. In inches, starting from the wire guarding, we're looking at 3/4.
3/4 of an inch. Question number 1. Question number 2 is, can you see the thread at the top where you skipped a bead?
With a microscope, yes. But not really, no. And I mean, it's the same thing on the edges. See if you look really close. Let me see if I can show you guys. You can see it's definitely there, coming down that side and down that side.
Perfect. And Danielle, if someone actually wanted to make this smaller, would you skip a bead in each row?
Yeah, you could always just take your widest row and reduce it. But let's see, if you did that, you would have, I think it would still work. You might need to reduce it by 2. Try 1 or 2.
Okay. And last question I have from the sidebar. Did you ever make these as earrings?
Oh yeah, you can. It would be really cute as earrings. And one of the original ideas I had was to make a bunch of them and dangle them from a chain, like in a cluster. but I got lazy after making like the 6th one, and I didn't feel like I could make any more.
Okay.
But you could make like a dozen of them and put, you know, a chain, and then just have them just kind of hang all the way down the chain. It'd be epic, really cool looking.
Perfect. And Danielle, I'm going to let you get to the charm part. Want to point out today that even Wanda noticed that your lighting and camera setup today has been just brilliant for the close-ups.
I used last week, well, that time off, I used it to get ahead of experimenting a little bit.
Thank you.
Yeah, we're usually, you know, we're moving so fast that like every week we're just like, oh, it's class again, it's class again. So I'm just grabbing 4mm jump rings, guys. I only need one. I already put them on the others. And just really quick, I'm gonna grab some pliers and put this jump ring on this heart so that I can use it with my other ones. So here's my pliers. Get one side, and one more. And the jump ring is kind of required, I feel like, because it makes it swing and it makes it sit between your beads. I do feel like if you went direct to the wire guardian, it would be like, it would look like that, right? And it just wouldn't have its dimension that we need. So I do think the jump ring is super, super helpful. If it's not one I would skip. All right, so let's get our wire in. Let's get our wire out. I'm just gonna work from the spool if I can. I don't have a whole lot left on here, so I'm just gonna go and work with what I've got, which actually is gonna be all of it. So never mind. Typically I would work from the spool, but I'm just really down to that. And I'm gonna use some white Delicas as spacer beads. I don't know if you guys can see it in this design here, but in this design, it's got a little Delica in between every single bead. And it serves a purpose of giving you a spot for that jump ring to settle, and just also makes it nice and bendy. And use any pattern you like. If you like the pattern that I've got here, I started out with a 6mm pearl, or actually I started with a Delica first. Let's get that Delica. And here's the 6mm pearl. And then I went to a big crystal. Need another Delica. I've got the Delicas over here off the camera, guys, because they are on one of those fuzzy mats that makes the focus bad. Oh, and I forgot my Delica in between those two. Sorry about that. Okay, so far so good. I've got Delica Pearl, Delica Crystal, and Delica. Now I'm going to go up to a bigger pearl. Let's grab an 8mm. And anything you like. This is just what I did. Anything's going to work fine. And then from there, I went ahead and strung my first charm. So let's grab one of these. Let's do this one that we just made. Or I think this is the one we just made, but one of them's good. Okay, and then I'm going to grab a crystal. And so the goal there is just to get it to sit nice in between those two. And let's just keep going. Delica bead, Delica bead. So crystal. And then another pearl. And let's do the pink one. And let's see what we want to do next. Another Delica. Actually, something didn't go right there. Sorry. Pink bead. Honestly, stuff like this takes me longer than the stitching. And I don't know why. Oh, and another thought I wanted to share. You see how they're not facing the same way? If you want it to look like this, See how the wire guardian's on the same side? I think I might fix that just really quick because I do want it to go the same direction. So when you string it, just take a look at how it's hanging. So in my case, it's hanging like that. So I want to string it so that it hangs like this too. Not super important, but if you like it. Okay, let's carry on from there. There's that crystal. It looks like I went to, from here, it looks like I went to another big crystal. I don't know. I think I was just being a little bit random with that. But I liked it. I liked how it came out. So I'm going to copy it. All right, so let's do the blue bead. And again, I want it to hang this way. So let's string it like that. And then just make sure everything stays as I want it. I'm going to move up a bit. I think I'm off camera, guys. Sorry. There we go. That works. Okay, so Delica Bead is already there. And we're just working along with this. 2 and 3. Need this pretty bead right here. So what beads are you guys using? I'm curious. Are you going to do crystals? Are you going to do pearls? Gemstones? Like anything you want. That's going to be really cool. Okay, I'm halfway done. I did a big crystal. Out my Delica. It's really easy for me to forget my spacer beads and I get going. You'll see it right away. Okay, so far so good. Pearl, spacer bead. Okay. And we'll go through it this way, right? I want it to hang like that. So I want to go through this way. That's really tricky for me to get that spin for some reason. I don't know why. This bead looks really cute next to that. They kind of match. Okay. There's this one. Let's do another crystal. Let's go to the gold one next. Let's do, yeah, we've only got one more and we're done. Okay, there's that one. And I'm going to use this one next to it. It's really pretty. So basically the premise here is just 2 beads, pearl crystal between each one, getting that spacing. It looks like I got 3 there. I'll do a pearl next. Okay, last one of these. All right, and I did end with a Delica because the 0.018, which is what I'm using here, if you're using this one, we'll go back through your Delica when we do our crimp. Okay, so we have got our design strung. Take a quick look at it, make sure that I didn't make a mistake and that I like it. And if there's nothing you would change, let's get our crimps going. And we will need our clasp as well. I went direct to clasp on this one. I did not add any other stuff. I just went straight to it on both sides. So let's get the clasp ready. And here Here's our crimp beads. All right, so put those in there. Okay, so very carefully. Usually I'd have it on the spool for safety, but I don't have that because mine was so short. So I'm just going to be really careful. And string your crimp bead on. String one side of your clasp. And then let's go back through the crimp bead. So you've got the clasp on there. Hit it right back through it. And you're going for that. And so now I'm going to just tighten it down. Go about like that. So you want to give it some swing, some air. You don't want it to be super tight, or because when we compress this just now, it's going to make that loop a little smaller. So just being careful not to make it too tight. If anyone's new to crimping pliers, they have two teeth. They have an inside and an outside. So the little U-shaped one that you see right there, that's the one we're going to go and compress it into a U-shape with. And they'll come along after that and use the top one to fold that U-shape on itself. And I'm always like, I have to remind myself not to overdo it because you don't want to break your beading wire. It is very strong if you do it correctly. But so, hoping I don't pull that out on that side, but so I've got the crimp tube right in there, and I'm kind of using my thumbnail underneath to just hold it all in place. And then just compress. And so you'll get that little compressed U. It'll look something like that. And then you just want to take those pliers again and fold it. And this time we're folding it in the front plier. Let me see if I can get that to show. So what you get is a little crimp like that. And when you bring it down, you can get the tail through those first few beads. There's one. See, I'm just sliding that on there. And two. And now that's it. It's hidden there. So let's do that one more time. I'll do it a little easier on this side because I'm not worried about it falling apart. Okay, so got this side here. So here's our crimp. And the ending side's always trickier for me because I got to get it back to the beads before I pull it. So here's the clasp, the crimp. Let that all slide down. And let's go back through these beads here. I'm going to go through the crimp bead, through the next Delica, and the next pearl. And once I've got that through, so just like that, then I'm going to tighten everything up. So slide that down. And just go ahead and pull that a little bit. Give it about that much. Okay. And then right before you crimp it, go ahead and bend your work. And the reason I like to do this is so that it's not over crimped. And sorry guys, I made that loop way too big on that side, so don't see that. This one's a little better. Pull that down a little more. There we go. So about that much is good. And I would say that's a hair over a 1/4 inch, maybe. All right, so, and then this is another little tricky spot. We want to be careful not to break our Delica. It's really easy to break your Delicas. All right. And then it's going to fold that. Oh, sorry, I went off camera there. I didn't mean to. All right, so once you've got that done, you're just going to trim the end. Let's see where our flush cutters are going to serve you better here than scissors. But you know, just like whichever works for you. And you get your beautiful bracelet. Now, if anybody does that earring idea, please tag me because I do wish I'd done the earrings. It was just, I would have had to have made 12 instead of 6, but now I've got 12 here. I just don't want to take apart my, my bracelets, but I think that would look really cool, wouldn't it? Like if you had just a chain, right? From an ear wire, just a chain, and then the hearts would just kind of cascade down. You could add little pearls and little clusters of gemstones, little, little this and that to it, and it would be very cool. Yeah, and Winnie's saying it also gives you room to get your bracelet clasped. Yeah, that's a good point. You want to leave yourself a little room, especially if this was the bar side, to get it through. So that's a really good point. Yeah, so any questions for me guys on this? I know I went really fast on that last part, but there's a lot of really great content out there on Crimp, so I just wanted to just do a quick demo on how to turn those cute little hearts into something that you'd be able to just put on and wear.
Danielle, you went right to the minute. So you're, I did not interrupt you. I really wanted you to get through the whole class. And you're getting thank yous in the sidebar right now. Obviously, some people are going to need to wait for the recording on Monday. And a lot of happy Valentine messages for you, Danielle.
Thank you. Happy
And
Valentine's.
if you wouldn't mind, you have maybe a minute to tell people about what's next.
Yeah. Next week we're gonna do red angle weave. So if you're gonna get your crystals out, there's a really cool way we can connect these. So here's the necklace. It's just really fun. It's a little hard to see right now. My lights aren't staying as bright. Maybe we will work with the brighter cyan next week so we can see it a little better. This is the darker color. And then there's an earring version. Or it goes like that. Super easy. Uses some chain. And I wanted to give you guys a heads up about the chain. This chain, if you can't find this exact chain that I'm using, just use anything that you like, but test your jump rings. Make sure you can get your jump rings through it. We have a lot of different sizes of jump rings. There is the ones that I used here, which are these little 4mm guys. And they tend to be the most versatile. Like I can usually get these through most things. But if you're having any trouble at all with it, just test it. These are the 5mm, they're 1-up. And those would also work with the paperclip chain, which is what I've used here. In the handout, the chains that I used are highlighted in the description, but like if you're in store and you want to try something else, just test your jump ring. That's the whole thing there. Yeah. So Carmi, should I show next week or we're right on the button? The week after this one, I mean.
No, I show the one after and then you're done.
Then we're done. Okay, yeah. So this one is really fun, guys. This is a cool little stitch up, and I've seen it. Someone in our Facebook group already did it. They've already got theirs finished. This is the little short version. This is the one I'll demo in class because we'll be able to get it completely finished. But in the handout, there are instructions if you want to make it super, super long. There's also an earring version. And the earring version is also in the handout too. And it's a little different. The pattern you can see is just a little bit different. This is the beginner friendly pattern. This is the one where once you have your experience and you want to try a challenge, because notice it's not symmetrical, whereas this one is. So this one's a little easier to do than that one. But we'll talk through it. It's, it's a little bit more challenging than our usual kind of stuff because of the patterns. But don't be afraid because it's, it's one of those things you just try and you get it. Eventually it just kind of clicks and you're like, oh yeah. And then next thing you know, you're doing your own patterns and all that. So it can also be a pendant. I think I have a pendant here. I don't have this on a chain yet, but this one's going to be a little pendant. I decided to do a little spring greens one. So yeah, lots of fun stuff. This is peyote. We did Brickstitch today. This is all peyote stitch. So 2 different techniques that kind of look the same. Yeah, that's everything I've got for February. If you want to check out March is up. We're at the button here, so I'm just gonna give you guys a high five for welcome to February. And for those of you guys I saw last week, that was a real treat for me. Thanks for coming to Tucson and seeing us. And yeah, and so have a great weekend. Have happy beading. And if you want to tag us, we'd love seeing what you make. So the best way to notify us that you've posted is just to tag us with hashtag Make It With Michaels, hashtag John Bead. And if you want to join our Facebook group, we're on Facebook as well. And we'll see you there. All right. Have a great weekend, guys.